Hello. This presentation will cover the use of the Adobe Connect tool to present a customized training for supervisors and team leaders of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Region 3. Adobe Connect is a web conferencing tool that integrates voice and visual content so that real-time meetings can be conducted over the internet. This tool allows employees to host interactive meetings, webinars, and training sessions, and utilize other collaborative tools to enhance communication and productivity. Currently, the U.S. EPA has a license for EPA employees to utilize the tool 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to work nationally and internationally with EPA colleagues. So if I'm in Region 3 and that's in Philadelphia, I have the opportunity to host a training or participate in a training with colleagues in Region 2, which is in New York and has offices in New Jersey, or Region 4, which is in Atlanta. I can also work with contractors, internal and external stakeholders, and the tool can host over 200 participants in a session. And if I need more than that, I can just work through the help desk. So here's some advantages of using Adobe Connect and its many capabilities. So when you're using Adobe Connect, you can, if you're the host, you have the ability to track attendance and the access. So when you sign into Adobe Connect, they either ask you for your first and last name, or they ask you to sign in as a guest. When you're setting up your Adobe Connect session, you have one of three options. The first option is only people who are registered may enter the room. So if I haven't registered and I'm a guest, that means I can't sign in as a guest and I'll be blocked from entering the training. The second option is only registered users and accepted guests may enter the room. That means I had to register and accept the training. And here's an example of what the calendar appointment that you would get if you were using Microsoft Outlook to join the training. So this is the copy of what it looks like, and it tells you the time and date of the training and the title of it, so that way it sets reminders for the supervisor or whoever's taking the training to make sure they participate. And then the last one is for basically anyone to take the training. So if you have the URL or link to the training, you'll be able to take it. So Adobe Connect overall is it's a tool that features real-time collaboration using high resolution live video. It includes screen sharing and document sharing of notes or videos, and participants are able to ask questions either using audio, a chat box, or the raise your hand feature. So basically what Adobe Connect does, it just basically brings the classroom to a virtual format. So when you're setting up your training as the host, you have the ability to set up the meeting room layout, and that's basically using a standard or customized template. So there's various types of templates available to use. If you're conducting a training, the three most utilized types of templates are the sharing, discussion, this is the sharing layout, the discussion layout, and collaboration. The sharing template can be utilized to share Adobe PDFs, PowerPoint slides, videos, and other content. It's a simple layout that basically allows you to share your screen. So if I have some content, or let's say a PowerPoint slide, which is basically what I'm going to use for my snippet, I would upload that in there and then the whole classroom could see it. So then the next layout is the discussion layout. That's optimized to discuss topics interactively and take notes. It includes a notes section. It's right here. It also includes the classroom chat, so if people want to ask questions or say they can't hear me or just bring something to my attention or to their classmates' attention, they can put that in the chat features. And it also features a polling feature, which is really great to use because you can ask multiple choice questions, you can get multiple answers or short answers. So if I'm designing a piece of the training that asks the participants to basically answer a test question or write out some answers, I can use the polling feature for that. And then it's all recorded in one box. And then the last layout is the collaboration layout. So that's optimized for annotating content and drawing freehand on a whiteboard. And in this section, you basically share your screen. You also can share your webcam. It still also has the chat feature and the notes feature. So if I want to underline something, if I want to highlight, I can do that in this layout. I think pretty much all the layouts kind of have the same features, which you can still see the attendees. You can see who the host is, which would be me, who the presenters are at the time. So if I'm switching between presenters, I can do that. And then also see who the participants are. Another great feature is I'm able to control the roles and privileges of the participants. So like I just mentioned, I can switch between presenters. So if I want a student to show me something on their screen or give me an example, they're able to do that. And I also can prevent them from turning on or off certain features. So if I don't want them to chat right now, then I can turn that off. And basically control the classroom as if I was still in a physical classroom. Another great feature is the use of the breakout sessions. In the breakout sessions, hold on, let me show you. Okay, it's not showing up on this example, but they do have breakout rooms. So in the breakout room, if I want them to work individually or do some small group discussions or brainstorm ideas, that would be a great tool to use because they can discuss their thoughts and ideas with each other and then report it back to the classroom. Another great feature is that once the instruction is done, I pretty much can record the whole training lesson and also edit it before I give it out to people or distribute it. So basically everything and anything that happens within this virtual classroom can be recorded, and the link can be given back to participants for them to review or to give it to other people to see what occurred in the classroom. And the most important feature is that there's a lot of technology support and resource guides available if I'm having issues with being able to use Adobe Connect. The disadvantages of using the system, I would say, is that you have to use the call-in number in order to hear live video. That's not always the case with every license to Adobe Connect, but for some reason with EPA, we always have to provide a call-in number, and that's a disadvantage to me because it'd be easier if the learners could just pop open the training and just hear the audio from their computers, but they have to call in this number, so it's just you have to use two pieces of technology at once. And then also there is a cost to using that call-in number. So each time we use this call-in number that EPA provides us, it's it adds up. So I think that's a disadvantage. And I would rather everything just be done in one single shot. Another disadvantage I think is that I think the layouts are great, but it could cause some distraction, both for the learner and the instructor, because there's just so many things that you can activate. So you can have a poll going on and a chat going on and discussion notes, and that's just I think a lot for a learner to take in. And especially if I want them to focus on just my presentation. So I guess to minimize that, I'll just have to maybe toggle between the layouts, because I would just want them to just focus on my screen. And I think that can be done easily, but just knowing that at some point there's just a lot of activity that can be going on at the same time. And just overall, I think I'm not really sure the exact dollar amount of the license, but it could be a pretty pricey system. And if I don't know if your organization could afford to have the license, but just considering there's other ways you can use to present, there's other systems you can use to present training. A lot of organizations have learning management system. EPA actually does not, so this is what we rely on to present training and some other things, but we don't have an official learning management system. So maybe your learning management system would be an alternative to using this. So the instructional strategies and approach that I'm going to have is will be asynchronous virtual classroom with modules for the participant to complete. And in my training, it would incorporate a mix of the 4 generative strategies. So it'll have a strategy of using the recall strategy, where they'll be able to learn facts or concepts such as empathy and emotions, and then they'll be asked to define these concepts. I'll use the integration strategy by asking the learners to identify their own examples of the content after it's taught. So, for example, they'll be asked to explain empathy in their own words and explain an appropriate way and an inappropriate way to show empathy. If I use the concept of elaboration, they'll be shown images in a case study involving a high-stress situation, and then they'll be able to learn about the different types of stressors. After that, they'll be asked to describe methods for eliminating the stressor. And to use the organizational strategy, an example would be asking the learners to identify the differences between moods and emotions. I think Adobe Connect would be a great tool that will align my instructional approach with my instructional objectives. So here's just an example of some of the objectives that I will put in my training. So as a system, I think it'll definitely be able to help align my instructional approach with my instructional objectives. So I can use the screen and file sharing to upload videos and presentation slides, video segments, case studies, and any interactive activities I have. I can use the notes sections to ask participants to write about their experiences or define terms. I can use the breakout sessions to ask our participants to work individually or in small groups to complete tasks, provide feedback, or whatever it is that I need them to do, they'll be able to do in the breakout session. And the polling session, which I think is a great feature, I can ask multiple choice questions after I give them the activity and have them record their answers. I can have them answer open-ended questions so they can talk about their experiences, and just anything that will just elicit some feedback I can use the polling section for. So overall, I think using Adobe Connect would definitely help for me to submit my training on emotional intelligence. It's a great tool that I have access to, and I wouldn't have to pay for it, and it's free. So if you are able to use this in your organization, I would recommend it.